King Arthur promised us safety on these shores. Instead, we found stormy seas, rocks like shark teeth, and treacherous mists. Those few who managed to land will be set by hunger, cold, and nightmares born of weirdness. My people settled around a gnarled old statue. Though we did not understand its origin or purpose, the enemy seemed to avoid it. That was good enough. For a time. In the end, the winds of weirdness only grew stronger, and the statue failed to protect the settlement. There was fear, despair, and then nothingness, as reality melted around us.
You awake to nothingness. All you can sense is darkness. A dense mass of emptiness so total that even your thoughts disintegrate. Then you hear whistling. An eternity seems to pass before something materializes in the darkness with you. Something angry.
Damn it, you weren't supposed to land here. Damn it all to hell.
The creature pauses for a moment, clearly weighing up some options. He taps a finger against one of his horns.
Now, listen, there's a lot to do and no time to waste. What can we try? Perfect. You can speak, and yes, these are really great questions. No easy answers, though. Sorry to disappoint. Now, listen closely. Are you ready? Brace yourself, because what I'm going to tell you is rather important. You're gone. Your village is gone. Everything you've ever known is gone. Yes, everything and everyone, including your very own self, as I mentioned already. However,
the creature taps two hooves together, marking a dramatic pause.
There is a small chance, an infinitesimally tiny chance, really, to bring it all back. You were saved from death in order to keep your reality from falling apart. But, well, it's not going to be easy. First, we must ensure that you're in good enough condition to actually do anything. Which brings us to the problematic part. Your body.
You squint down at your feet and hands in the darkness. They seem perfectly fine.
Oh no. Oh, goodness me, no. That's just an illusion. I had to get you here somehow, didn't I? Otherwise, you'd start talking about the afterlife and whatnot. And this, my friend, is not an afterlife. This is a total mess. But let's see what we can do. Here, this little trick should get us started at least. Well, it seems your soul isn't strong enough to be picky about its vessel yet. Don't worry, you'll grow. Now, we need to see whether my little trick actually worked.
The goat weaves his fingers in an intricate series of gestures. With a final flourish, he conjures a terrifying creature into the emptiness.
Aha, here we go. This is a powerful Avalonian warlock. But don't worry, he's not really here. Not in the truest sense. Your goal here is simple. Fight. Show me that you've got what it takes. Colour me impressed. I didn't expect that. Have you been here before and I just didn't recognise you? Anyway, after that performance, I'll assume you don't need any more direction. So, I'll send you to your destination. Your main objective for now will be to push forwards, survive, kill the 4 Guardians. Then we'll talk. Listen, it's been 4 years since humans landed on these shores. 4 years of strife, fear and hunger. At least that's what you tell yourselves. And 4 years of war you were destined to lose because even the mightiest human wizards are no match for the Avalonians.
Seeing your expression, it makes an impatient grimace, stepping from one foot to the other.
The war you brought here? Well, it wasn't exactly going in your favour. But then that wizard, Merlin? Well, he had an idea. Your king, Arthur, he had another brilliant idea. Both stubborn mules, both playing with powers they didn't understand and were never meant to understand. And so we're here, in this corrupted reality, strung together with the last strand of somebody's goodwill.
Where your hometown once was, a lone man sits among the remains. He doesn't notice you. Only when you walk right up to him, he turns his blank stare toward you.
It's not my farmhold, is it? I'm from up north, the land of fog. I don't know what happened.
At least that's one thing you have in common.
A creature that looked like a goat told me I'd wake up in a strange place, and that I'd find someone in need of my help there.
The man looks at you for a moment.
I've already made some preparations and settled in one of the tents here. But you? I've seen an enormous creature out there. A golem of stone. The evil...
Right now, this building is an abandoned ruin. Right now, this building...
Good. I caught you before you went out, all on your lonesome. Our mutual friend already told you to slay the stone golem. Perfect. The golem is just a start, though. Even if you do manage to kill it, the further you go, the more dangerous the road will become. And since we're talking roads, you're walking within the weirdness now, and it's dangerous. Take these candles, light them up, and try not to let this damned fog close around you. Got it? Oh, and before you face the golem, look around the area. There's a blacksmith nearby who might be willing to join your village. Finding people like him will be crucial for your survival. Each one will be helpful in a different way. And with that, I'm out. Good luck.
It's a mystery why these stones light up and banish the weirdness when people walk by. Many believe Merlin himself invented the runes carved into them. There's also a darker rumor that they were left by the Four-Dwellers to lure humans into their domain, like moths to the flame. As the flickering light of the weird candle combines with the milestone's faint radiance, the surrounding darkness is pushed even further back. A song breaks through the slithering of the weirdness.
I have no hope, no home, no gold. Mine is but misty morning cold.
Not long afterwards, you come upon a man wearing a blacksmith's apron.
I found myself here, with this lump of iron for company. I swear to gods it started talking to me not long ago. Oh, no. I left that life behind quite a while ago. All I'm interested in these days are runestones. Yes, containers for the magic of giants. Even though you'll usually find them broken, they're extremely powerful. You can use them to enhance your weapons or armor. They will influence your abilities in different ways. Also, when you find 3 of the same kind and rarity, you'll be able to fuse them together. This will make them even more powerful. Here, let me give you some. You can try it later. I'd say that since you know what you're looking for, you should be able to find more of them out there. By the way, You want me in your village? Well, you must first prove you can take care of yourself. Kill 10 bears and... just fooling, for pity's sake. What would I need 10 bears for? Show me the way.
Mother's shrines were a common sight across Avalon. Despite their grim existence, settlers were grateful to the goddess, and they had good reason to be. For every 10 people who set sail for Avalon, only 4 would reach the island, and only 1 or 2 would survive the first year. The shrine has faint traces of power lingering in the air. A priestess materializes out of the weirdness and asks what it is that you're looking for. The priestess gazes at you with a blank stare. You realize that, despite her phantasmal appearance, the payment for her services must be very real indeed. The priestess lays her hands on your chest. You feel a wrenching pain as your body He holds one weapon in his hand and has one weapon on his back. This strikes you as a bit excessive, unless he's a traveling weaponsmith. The blood covering his leather jerkin is not his own. It seems he can take care of himself.
Before you get any stupid ideas, I used to be a master-at-arms at Halfway. Trained many young warriors there. If you've gold to spare, I could teach you a thing or two.
Within the darkness, you hear a familiar voice.
Finally, now we can start the cycle of proper rebirth.
A different voice appears out of nowhere, and its owner is nowhere to be seen.
Be gone.
It is calm, inhumanly calm.
Can I invite you to the table?
You see a hooded figure waiting for you by the table. A chessboard sits upon it, the game in progress. As you take the free chair, you realize the creature has no face. A white skull leers from the shadows of the hood, a human skeleton draped with robes.
I admit, I'm not used to showing up in person whenever people die. That's too much hassle with adjusting my presence to your current imaginations and whatnot. But let's say that your case is special. Yes. And yes to that other question, too. You're technically dead, but there are certain things that prevent you from, let's say, being properly gone. Recent events had consequences going beyond the intentions that sparked them. And now we're stuck in this unfortunate predicament because time, as you know it, is irreversibly corrupted. The past and the future are happening at the same time. All that you see is an echo of things that already happened or eventually will, presented without inherent sense, without purpose, without any logic.
You see 4 figures on the board changing shapes into forms of beasts, and a moment later, they dissolve into dust.
You must slay the Guardians and keep slaying them until you reach the source, conjuring them out of the weirdness. Their deaths will make you stronger. This